What's going on, beautiful people? Welcome back to another episode of the After You cast. And I'm sat down with one of my guys. Please introduce yourself to the people, bro.
I'm Joshua Parker. This is my second time with my brother, and today we're really going to chop it up. A bit different, but necessary.
Absolutely. So, from the last episode, which you guys have obviously kind of seen now, that the styling and the layout, I slightly tweaked it a little bit because I wanted to, like I said before, bring on people and familiar faces, like showcase to not just to the people, but in general that like these connections are real connections. Do you know what I'm saying? It's not something we just know each other vicariously online, and you know, it is a little bit confusing now online, isn't it? It's like you see all these content creators and you're like, did they know each other? Yeah. Like what's the vibe? So yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, like, you know, me and Josh obviously go back. We've known of each other from our football connection. We always have mutual friends and things like that. But these conversations, I think that they do need to naturally evolve, and like we're always moving forward. And this new format and styling, I think, is good because you get to know a little bit more about the person, but we also touch on things that relate to modern times, what's going on in the world. You know what I mean? Like, don't want to ever avoid like the elephant in the room, and act like it don't exist. So with that being said, let's jump straight into the action. As Josh is a professional footballer, I think it's only perfect that we jump straight into who are your top 5 footballers. And I did add a little caveat in by allowing it to be past and present, because I think it's a bit more fair. Do you know what I'm saying? So, man.
For me,
what's your thoughts?
I'm going to say not in any particular order, but my number one is my number one. I'm going to say R9. It's my number one.
What, the original R9 original, just for context, because
for me, the only
Ronaldo.
R9, I'm gonna say Messi, Zidane.
I like that.
Ronaldinho, and I'm gonna say Maradona. Ooh. It's controversial because everyone will be like, you didn't put Cristiano in there. For me, his scoring records are unquestionable, but as a football player, in terms of changing how people wanted to play football, I think that others were just a different breed. So R9 for me is the most complete player ever, in my opinion.
That's fair. That is a fair.
Messi is Messi. I don't think there's anyone like Messi.
True.
Zidane is, I think, the epitome of the perfect midfielder. It's like watching ballet. Yeah,
it is.
Then you got Maradona. I think he was ahead of his time. And then who was my last one? Did I say Ronaldinho? Ronaldinho made you realise that, obviously, aside from all his talent, to play with a smile on your face. Like, his talent was undeniable, but you never saw him angry. You saw him just play with pure love.
Facts.
And everyone saw that. Everyone would applaud that. That charisma about him on the football pitch. So
100%. Nah, that's so true. I mean, like Zizou and Ronaldinho, those two really stand out. Obviously, like, we know the others, like in terms of Messi, the original Ronaldo, what they did, because it was more on the aspect of like the scoring goals, the final end piece, which like signified them. But like with Zidane and Ronaldinho, I think they'll be remembered for not necessarily the goals they scored, but like you said, that completeness of their football.
And we live in a society now where everything's about stats, but I would say more time Ronaldinho was the pass before the pass. So you can't put him in the stats category, because he was the one that you could give the ball in any situation and you'd expect something to happen. If it wasn't him directly, it was him playing someone through and then they'd square it and someone scored.
Very true.
So people don't look at those things anymore. Because if we're going to go based on stats, Zidane was a bang average midfielder.
If you're right, if you used to go off of
anyone that's watched Zidane will tell you, no,
that's crazy. So no, that's a good one. I like that. I mean, they're obviously common players that a lot of people would know, they're legends of the game. But like, I'm glad that you brought in the original Ronaldo as well, because in the new modern game, like, we forget, I think, like how prolific like he really was in terms of the style of how he played. Like, I really honestly would say, like, this might even be a bit of a take, like, he made the stepovers a thing. Because they were done. I'm sure there was players before they were doing it.
100%.
But he really signified it to the point where that is almost like a staple of football now.
Yeah, 100%.
It's like a staple. If you can't roll the ball, bam, bam, bam.
Yeah.
It's like at the higher levels, everyone does that. You see centre halves doing it in training.
He's a freak of nature.
Yeah.
I saw one quote from Jose Mourinho saying like he's the best player ever seen, and he said he had the strength of a sumo wrestler but the pace of like a cheetah.
That's mad.
Like it's just different. Like, it's basically Mbappe with I don't know whose strength, but some crazy strength, because people would run into him and just bounce off him.
Yeah. And we're talking about times as well. People that are like, VARs, like off the ball stuff was different.
Yeah, and the tackles were flying in. And for me, maybe football now is more tactical, so people think it's better. Yeah. But the level of defender that he was doing it to is different. You got like your Nestas, your Stams, all these defenders that like would walk into any team now. Yeah. And he was doing that like even when he was overweight. Do you remember when he played United? Oh my! And he was all like fat, but just bagging a hat trick. It just wasn't normal.
That muscle memory is elite.
Just wasn't normal.
I know, it's mad, isn't it? But like, you bring up a good point as well. Like, because obviously you being a striker, like you kind of would see like what is necessary, obviously, to be a great striker in general. But like that transition from when he was an elite striker to like, maybe the Ronaldos and the Messis and the more modern strikers, like what do you think necessarily has like really changed that like essence of the style based players, the Ronaldinhos, Ronaldos, Trezeguets? Like I think style in strikers was a thing, and I think it's more about like, I'm not sure,
because I think in modern day football the emphasis is more on the team. Whereas back in the day it was more so not the individual as such. Obviously you had a team, but there was individual talent, individual personalities, and in football, that with social media and stuff, that gets clamped down on. Like people get onto Lingard because he dances. Or is he not allowed to have any? People think you really have to eat, sleep, live, and eat football. But that's not the case. Like football's a very lonely place, especially when you're at the top, because you can't even go to the shops. You can't go Power League and watch your friends, let alone join in. So you're confined basically to your home or high-end places, and that's it. And your friends can't afford those places. Even if you drive and stop at a traffic light, people are going to take pictures of you. So like you can't even be a personality anymore. Like people get onto Grealish, but I'm like, he's like almost like the last of a dying breed. Like, he's a normal human being that's exceptionally good at football. And back in the day, you had those characters, and I think with how tactical football is becoming, and everyone has styles, and you have to stay within your style. Don't show too much personality. I think you're losing those iconic players. I remember when Sterling came on the scene. He was busting step overs. As soon as he went to City, it's like
it's like you fitting in. You're like
you fit into a mold. Like you kind of lose your personality, if you know what I mean.
I see what you mean. Like I remember like the last player, obviously being an Arsenal fan, like the last real essence of that I remember seeing at the club was really Thierry Henry on that high elite level. Like people talk about Cesc, you might be able to want to throw him in there, or Van Persie, but in terms of like being a talisman, like you don't even really hear that title used much more. And I think that's part of the same thing. It's like that personality as a footballer was also important, as opposed to just like, oh, he brought us 15 goals a season and chances created. So that's a good one. But no, the overall, that's a good list. I think that's a nice list, and it'd be interesting to see like obviously other people I get on who may be in that same industry who have different viewpoints, because you're coming from that goal scoring perspective, but throwing in Zizou in there, and that's a good.
I've got no defenders. Like if it was a five-a-side, then I'd have a defender. But just those five are just
that's good. I like that. But like, it goes to show, isn't it? Like just highlighting that how much the game has really changed. You look at those names you mentioned, they are almost even Messi and Ronaldo. Like in modern days today, they're like that character is almost like dying with them. It's like to replicate that now is very difficult. I mean, I see people online that absolutely love Kylian Mbappe, and then I hear other people will say that he's just a speed merchant, and I'm like, wow. Like the difference, you didn't really see that back in the day. It was like when players broke onto the scene and were like nationally, internationally renowned and known, there was a respect level that was common. You may not like their style of play, but you had to like kind of respect them. And I think now it's a bit more fickle online. You know what I mean? Like you could have one bad performance or a couple, and then, like I said, the Kylian Mbappe example, people would be like, oh, he's just really fast.
And you can do anything. Look at Messi and Ronaldo, they still have haters. Like sometimes, like, this is what I kind of gives me the, like, annoys me a little bit. Like, you ain't always got to have an opinion. Everyone has an opinion, but you ain't always got to have one. Like, if someone scored 800 goals in their career in like 10-15 years, just be quiet. Like, just
respect is respect.
It basically shows you that no matter what you do, someone's always going to badmouth it, so you kind of have to just ignore everyone, because you could win the lottery, Euro Millions, 100 million, give it all away, and that's because that's what you want to do. So people be like, you're stupid, you're doing it for attention, oh, you're clout. Like, just let him do what he wants to do in it. Like,
it's true.
Like, you ain't always got to have an opinion.
Nowadays,
people, I said it the other week. Like, there's so many righteous people in the world right now. Everyone's got an opinion and condemning everyone.
Holier than thou.
Yeah, literally. And I'm like, I know you're doing a madness. Like, whether it's you drink every weekend, you party too much, or in debt because you buy stupid things to impress people that don't care about you. But you're on here telling people that have put in work from the ages 6 to 36 that you're not even that good.
Yeah, that's mad, isn't it? Yeah, the world we live in now, man, it's gotten crazy. It's getting crazier. But yeah, no, that's good, man. That's good. I appreciate that. I've been let's see, people out there. I might have to put a little poll out or something on there to see what other people's comparisons are. I'm sure there'll be a few people that probably even match with some of those names, because they're just well-renowned legends of the game. So yeah, all right, cool. So switch over to current news, talking trends and things that are kind of going on currently in the world today. So I was doing a little bit of research and kind of looking for a story or stories to bring up, and these two kind of really stood out. Now, the first one is about NFTs, and it's about essentially Crawley Town. Their owner, I believe, has essentially opened up the ability for, I'm not sure if he's turned part of the company or put it out there for an NFT, but essentially they have opened it up to the local community, and they was able to raise, I think it was about 3.5 million from the local community to help budget, finance, all that sort of thing. So you can imagine for League 2 Crawley.
That's what I didn't know that, but that's why I'm guessing they bought so many players this window. They bought so many players, and I know they're throwing money around.
Okay, cool. So there you go. Like, because obviously behind the scenes knowledge, and maybe even a few players that play. So, but yeah, I just thought, especially now with NFTs and all of the cryptocurrency and all of these different things now, I just thought it was a unique one, because I was having this conversation with one of my friends, and on one side of the argument, you've kind of got that top clubs, the big boys. They maybe don't necessarily need it or even will desire to want it, because they're already making the billions, they've got their sponsorships agreements and that in place. But it makes a lot of sense if you think about grassroots up to, let's say, League 2, maybe even League 1 clubs, because they're relying on their local community, their fan base coming through the doors, and with COVID-19, with the current market in general, people working from home, all these different things, I think you've got a lot more of a market that's stepping online and less physical. So perhaps that could bridge the gap and that bit of a void between certain low league clubs that maybe would never get that investment. So, I just want to pose it to you, bro, and think like, what's your thoughts coming from the football perspective? Because I know you also will know directly, having conversations with chairmen and owners and things like that, what the kind of temperature is on this kind of thing. So what's your thoughts, bro? So
with regards to let's just say in general, the NFTs, the crypto stuff, I'm invested in it, so I've got cryptos, I've dabbled in NFTs.
Nice.
It's one of them things for me where I think it's an eventuality, so it's going to happen, whether it's in football at first and then kind of migrates elsewhere. However, I'm one of the people where I also understand the repercussions of everything going digital, because I believe the more digital everything goes, the less control we have as people.
Yeah, okay.
And that's my biggest hang up. Like, I think if you can get in and get out and make some money, and obviously clubs are essentially doing that, they're getting in. Like Crawley will be one of the first, or are one of the first to kind of get in. but for society as a whole, I think it's going to be more detrimental than it is positive. But people who are in the space, and I'm in the space, so I'm commenting from experiencing both sides.
Yeah.
I think because people have all these beliefs like, oh yeah, it's decentralized, and this guy's the owner, this guy's the owner. You don't know. If you knew, then everyone would know. We're just making assumptions. Yeah. So no one knows. You have a belief.
Yeah.
I think it's a very dangerous space to be in, but for football clubs it can be very lucrative in the short term. That's why for me, I'm in it for the short term.
Makes sense.
I'm not in it for, I don't want a cashless society, because I think having something tangible at least gives you some power. You don't know what can happen. They could shut down everything, and then we've got no means of exchange, and you kind of can be dictated to. Yeah. Whereas if you've got your cash, obviously if they was to crash the society and make cash worth nothing, then do you know what I mean? It's a very tricky space. Yeah. Like, and all the people that are involved will be pro it, because whenever you're invested in something, you always be like, no, it's the future, it's this, that. But you have to look at all sides. Like in these things, whether you're pro or against it. That's how you kind of come to a good conclusion, where you're like, oh, this is the pros of it, this is the cons of it. But a lot of people that are in it will tell you there's no cons. There's cons to everything.
Absolutely.
But I think for the short term, for smaller clubs, I think it's very good to get the local communities involved, to build the clubs as a brand, especially after COVID. I think it's the perfect way to kind of transition back onto a level playing field. Obviously someone like Crawley, who have done it before majority of the clubs, it will be much more beneficial to them. Of course, because clubs will follow, so that will make theirs almost seem like a more valuable asset. So I think it has a lot of benefits, but I
completely agree as well. I think that when we separate value from things that can be considered tangible, I think this is why we're in this position we're in the world. I think we grew up in a time that tangible things equaled some form of value, whether it was low, high, whatever. And I think now we're in this place where you can almost create the idea and the illusion of things, and then they can quantify a certain amount of value. But that's fluctuating, because if I do that compared to if Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos does that, completely different. So I think we're not just dealing with differences, we're dealing with differences within different people. So it's such a complexity when you really break it down. And then, like you said, with a full cashless society, I think it works fantastically for, let's say, maybe you're in debt and you need some short-term income, you need to recover from something happened in the club, and you need to just recover. That's where I think it works. It maybe avoid the kind of the Portsmouths and the Leeds situations, administration. But like you said, imagine if everyone is doing that. I think the real issue is the integrity of the clubs as well. Because there's a identity each club has based off of its fan base, the morals, everything. And I think if you open that up, now it's a pro and a con, because it's like we are now more sustainable, but what are we sustaining? Because now you're going to have so many cooks in the so many chefs in the kitchen, and everyone's going to think that their opinion, just like you said earlier, everyone thinks they have an opinion. So could you imagine if they have a genuine stake? It's going to be like impossible to make decisions. So I think that's one part of it as well. Like sometimes we need that leader at the helm, or a group, small group, that can say, hey, no, we're going to do this, and then we'll judge from there. So it's kind of like everyone wants to be open. Everything has to be open. Literally. So that's interesting. But yeah, definitely, I think it could benefit some of the smaller clubs. So we'll kind of see how that pans out in the near future. But so next one, I wanted to highlight, this one kind of popped out, which this is an interesting one. I think it's a bit of a juicy talking point, because obviously it's a well-known individual, and I was kind of just scouring online, and then it just popped up, because right now, anyone knows it's transfer season, windows open, so I'm looking up for news, and all I'm finding is this player's potentially going to go here, this player's going there. So this one popped out, and it was referencing Alex Scott, well-known BBC presenter, sports presenter. She's actually the first female in 47 years to present BBC Football Focus, which is quite a really big achievement, and it goes to show how, you know, a lot of things are starting to be broken slowly but surely, and now it's becoming a lot more open. But anyway, the article was basically referencing, you know, her relationship status and how essentially she's struggled over the years to find decent dates, partners, that sort of thing. And I think it's something that is growing online now. The conversation is becoming a lot more, let's say, mainstream, which is dating and relationships in the modern world. With the advent of social media, dating apps, all of these different things now, you can see there is a unique conversation to be had when it comes to how are we actually interacting with each other when it comes to dating and relationships, because it's just becoming more and more of a thing. And like you said, educated opinions versus just regular opinions, I think, cause more confusion. But that's why I thought this would be interesting to kind of highlight with this particular story, your perspective on like dating and relationships from a professional athlete's perspective. You know what I mean? So what's your initial thoughts on it?
With regards to professional athletes?
Yeah, in terms of like professional athletes, and like there may be the pros and cons of dating that you've seen, and maybe why a scenario like this could come about. You know what I mean?
Yeah. See, my views on dating are very abstract, and I would say they're not traditional, but based on how much I've read, researched, I believe they're right.
Okay.
So I look at dating as a business transaction, because that's what you're basically doing. You're investing in something.
True.
And something's invested in you. That's what a friend is. Someone who's willing to invest in you, and someone you're willing to invest in.
Yeah.
Naturally, you're always gonna, on a date, put forward your best foot and tell all the amazing things you do and sell a dream, essentially.
To a degree.
But I think what needs to happen is it needs to become almost not like an interview. That sounds too like formal, but you want to ask people questions, and people shouldn't get scared. So if a girl wants to know, when do you want children? I think that's a reasonable question to ask. Or if you want to ask it to her, what's your plans for the next 5 years? But people nowadays are so microwavable with the dating scene. They use it as literally an into how quick can I get physical. That's literally how it is. I'm going to wine and dine you, make you believe this, and then I'm going to sleep with you. Then I'll make my decision. It's so backwards, but I understand it because I've been that person. I think we've all done that to some degree. But someone like, say for example, Alex Scott. I think dating should be easier for her.
Agreed. Because
you
would think so.
Women are hypergamous, so naturally they want to date up. Men, we date down.
Very true.
So she's already in that space to meet high, quote unquote, high value men, or whatever, or high earning, high intellectual men. So it should be easier, unless she's trying to be or she's putting herself in that kind of masculine state of mind and wanting to date down. And more often than not, women don't tend to stay with a man just below them because he feels inferior, and it kind of goes skew with.
It goes against like the masculine prerogative.
Exactly. So she's in a perfect environment to thrive, or at least be around the right people to sit down or go on dates with. So it should be easier for someone like her. Whereas those that aren't at that level that she's been at or that she's at, kind of have to play the field and can get misled, because anyone can sell you a dream. Anyone can tell you like, oh yeah, this is my job, and it's not, and all these things, and kind of lead you on till they get what they want, and then
bang, they're gone.
Whereas she can go on a date with a footballer, a actor, and know who they are, because she's at that level, so they're going to be at that level, and we're all kind of here. So it should be easier for her. But dating right now is
it's crazy now. Like from what I mean, from seeing online, and I mean, like as I said, talking about elephants in the room, you know, in general, I definitely think that we're at this butting of our heads period of time right now when it comes to relationships, because like you said, women are hypergamous by nature, and I think there's like responses to responses going on. It's almost like the response to mainstream feminism and all of these new ways of thinking that have kind of opened and unlocked the game, 100%. Made it a lot more equal in terms of opportunities. But I think what hasn't changed is the outcomes. So 100%. I think we've increased opportunities and tried to almost level that playing field in a sense. But when you look at the outcomes, essentially nature prevails, biology 100%. Prevails. 100%.
So
I think this is where it kind of falls off sometimes in terms of people's mindsets.
Like, I think there's a massive element of conditioning. Like, we know that with everything. I don't think, and I'm not like pro men, pro women, I'm just like kind of pro growth. I don't think men's wants and needs from women have changed. I think women's wants and needs from a man have changed. I think women nowadays want everything but want to give nothing. Not all, but the vast majority. So women want to be like boss, whatever you want to call it,
boss
and
bees, bad bees,
bad bees, and all this stuff, and want to have equality and want to have freedom like a man does, and earn like a man does. But then it throws off the whole dynamic of a union. You have to have the yin and the yang. And I'm not saying you can't go and earn your money, but when it's time for you to do what the universe put you here to do, which is have children, if I want to step up and be that provider, and you to stay at home and do what no one else can do, and men can't do, then I feel like you should naturally step into that. And
just like we'd naturally step into the providers role,
exactly,
or wanting to.
And if you're a woman that's aligned with herself, you'll accept that. You won't be like, after 3 months, oh, I want to go back to work. That's not a natural mindset. I don't care what anyone says. It's not personal. It's not a natural mindset. A woman should want to be with her child. For me, even things like women are extremely lazy nowadays, so some women can't breastfeed. Others can. If you've got something that's God-given or whatever you believe in, you ain't got to like bottle feed your child. It's more so because you want to sleep. But as soon as you have a child, your duty is that child. That becomes number one. And I think everyone's got this kind of, women have got this, I want to earn money, I want my own, I want this, I want that mentality nowadays. Whereas men, we're very simplistic. And I'm not saying men are perfect. I'm saying there's a lot of men that will play you, mislead you, mistreat you. But when we know we've got the one, we know what we want.
100%. I mean, go get it. Guys that go after and have a serious high level of self-discipline. It's almost a natural energy that you give off
100%.
When you're around people that, it's not necessarily. I think what's happened is that we've been able to, in recent times, conflate what men are. So essentially there's a few ways you can be as a man, let's be honest here. 100%. Like, we follow a logical, realistic way of living, so you can go against the grain.
100%.
Men have done it for hundreds of thousands of years, and some have been successful, but the small percentage. Typically there is a formula, then there's a way of carrying yourself, a level of discipline, integrity, confidence, all of these different things. They kind of just, you don't have to always talk about it. People can kind of see it when they sit down and they have conversations with you. But what I think's happened now is that with the rise of how female empowerment has grown, which I do believe in a lot of areas is a positive thing, I do also think that what's happened is it's like a seesaw effect. So a lot of men now, the reason why I think dating is so bad online and all these things is because men are stepping away from those responsibilities that made them attractive in the first place.
But I would also say, I was speaking with my partner about it yesterday, I think what you'll find is, if you've got a man and say he's been promiscuous and done X, Y and Z, and he's got caught, his boys will tell him, go and beg for that woman back. Like, they'll tell him, like, if she's a good woman, they'll be like, you can't let her go, you need to beg, you need to grovel, Single women create single women.
single women keep women single.
100%.
1,000%.
Like they'll be like, leave him over there. He wasn't good for you anyway. But I think people are looking too much for perfection nowadays.
Yeah.
And it doesn't exist. A lot of girls get their version of love from movies and Disney films.
Yeah.
They'll watch it and they'll be like, yeah, I'm waiting for Prince Charming, and when I find love, it's going to look like this, and it's going to look like this, and he's going to sweep me off my feet, and when we get proposed, it's going to be on a beach in the Maldives, and they create this fantasy in their head that it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
Relationships, you're going to have fallouts, but the whole point of a relationship is to grow together.
Yeah.
That's why when people get married, they say till death do us part, because you're literally two separate unions that create one big union. You've got your path, I've got mine. We create this union, and this is another thing I was saying yesterday, and I kind of get these thoughts when I'm talking about it, and I was like, the relationships that stand the test of time are the one that have a common goal outside of the physical.
Yeah.
It's like me and my partner, we know what kind of house we want, but we wanted that house when we wasn't together, in terms of it's just kind of we've aligned. We know what kind of car we want, how many holidays we'd like a year, what things we'd like to do, where we'd like to travel. They're our common goals. So I've got my thing going on, she's got hers, and we come together to figure out how we can get back to that. And it's funny because we had an argument this morning. But we've got to a point now where, you know what it's like in a relationship, you might argue and not speak for 3 days. We'll argue and we'll speak about 20 minutes later, if that, because what we've understood is we've got a common goal. And the longer we are in a negative space, the more time we're wasting getting to that common goal. Alright, we had an argument, you didn't like this, I'm sorry, I could have done this better, you could have done that better, boom, let's get back to it. Whereas when you're just in a relationship and it's purely physical, and I find you attractive, you find me attractive, you treat me good, but there's no common goal. Once the sex fizzles out and there's nothing beyond that, the relationship fizzles out. But when you've got a common goal, you might like, because when I did the podcast with Pell, the guy was like, oh yeah, I want sex 3 times a day. Like, you don't know your purpose then. Because when you've got a purpose, sometimes you don't even think about the physical stuff. You're like, I'm happy living my purpose with my partner because she's given me a new idea. I'm going to run with the idea. I'm going to come back to her. Then it becomes like a piggybacking off each other. And I think...
But it's interesting that you brought that up as well. Sorry to cut you real quick, but it's like, I know exactly what you're talking about, because obviously I watched that episode too, and like when he specifically said that, I was also thinking to myself about the purpose, what you mentioned, but more so when he brought up the childhood, and he brought up how he got to that point and the sexual activity from a younger age, and I was just like, it all adds up. There's always a reason for I wouldn't say extreme behaviour, but just like when you make let's say rash decisions that aren't necessarily rooted in logic or surrounded around your purpose. I think that typically becomes, you see more issues, and that I've kind of noticed that.
But like, that's why I'm kind of learning now that the angle that people are approaching dating nowadays basically sets them up for failure, because it's all about what can I buy you, where can I take you. It's not about what do you want from life, how do you see life looking. It's so like materialistic that if those things even drop 10%, you've changed, and they'll go and find someone else that can do it better. And social media plays a massive factor in that, because it makes everything seem easily dispensable. There's an abundance of options, and like you said with hypergamy, it almost is in a way to a lot of, you can imagine, to most modern females today, the abundance or the illusion of the abundance of options. Exactly that. So like then, as men, you almost feel like what's yours might not actually be yours, because there's always a potentiality that, because we're not going Nobu every week now, because I'm not at this job or I just can't afford it. Someone else might offer it and she might take it up. Like it's all mad, really.
1000%, man. I mean, that's ultimately why I thought that article was really poignant for this current time right now, because it just for me, obviously, I've been researching and looking online, and looking at both sides of the argument. Some people have different opposing views, but I think from the male perspective, you can definitely see there has been a massive decline in terms of the base level of respect when it comes to interactions between men and women. It's almost like you've got to go overboard and do 2, 3, 4 things more in order to just get a basic interaction.
The mad thing is, women have become so expectant nowadays that if you was to say as a man, to your partner, I'm going to provide, or I'm going to buy a house, 4 bedrooms, we've got 1 child, this is our car, and I pay all the bills. That's all I'm supposed to do, if you get what I mean. Obviously you're a father,
of course,
but anything outside of that is a bonus. You should be grateful for that, because I'm supposed to provide the roof, or provide the home, the house that you make a home, a means of travel, pay all the bills, so it eliminates any stress or struggle from you, and allows you to be mum or whatever, kind of work part-time if you want to. That's it. Holidays and stuff aren't included in the package, they're bonuses. We all want to do those things, of course, as men we want to give you those things, but they are bonuses, so be grateful for those things. Don't be expectant and say, I want date night twice a week and no, they're bonuses. Any man that cares will try and do those things for you, but don't expect them.
It's the expectation.
It's the expectation, and people, like, you see people on social media, like women, more time like speaking bad lines, saying, "Oh, he's trash, he's this, he's that."
Shame.
But I want to see your results. If you're single, don't comment.
I hear what you're saying.
I will say, like, now to my partner, I'm like, I can't take advice anymore from anyone that isn't living it. That's like me giving advice about baseball when I play football. So if you're single, don't comment about relationships, because obviously you can't relate to one. Oh but I had one. What happened? So if I'd rather listen to your parents who have been together 57 years and say, what's the secrets? And he'll tell me, just say yes, or we argue loads, but at the end of the day, I'd rather argue with her and be with her than be alone. Whereas you're out here saying, no man's good enough for me, and giving it all this bougie talk, but you're single for a reason.
1000%. And that's the real reality when it comes down to it. And I think all of this online debates, conversations back and forth, it's interesting because it's important to have, but it really is rooted into where your baseline of integrity lies at,
100%.
And respect level for men in general, and vice versa, because I don't really think that men are out in general going out of their way to be overtly disrespectful to women. Of course, there are percentages of guys that will, mistreat. You got abusive situations, all sorts of things going on. However, I don't think that's universally accepted anyway. I think that if for the most part, a man with a strong moral compass, a man that is ambitious, confident, assertive, a leader, isn't really going to sit there and see that as a comfortable way for men to act. But I see it now with all versions of men. Like I've seen guys that online that are nuclear physicists, like really accomplished, that had to work 15, 20 years to gain this information and knowledge to finally get some level of financial success. And if they don't come across as cool, charismatic, and down to earth, they ain't getting no love. They are not getting no love, especially in this modern market now. Today with dating, they don't understand how to take an Instagram picture.
But that's like the conversation that came up before with Pearl was, you got 80% of women chasing 20% of men.
And even if they're not chasing the 20%, it's like the guys that are striving to be there or nearly there or on their way there. Like there's no, he's just here where he is. Like when you said a minute ago about here's the house, here's the home you make into a house you make into a home, and then all of the other extrinsic parts that a man should be responsible for. But like you said, it's not even like that is a base level anymore. It's like the base level has now become financially successful, not stable, financially successful. Basically A-type characteristics, above average physique, and the charisma,
the list
charm,
is long. For women's list for men is crazy. And even then, it's still not enough. I always say women will have a 90% man and focus on the 10%. So you can give her a Mercedes, take her on 5 holidays a year. Your kids go to private school. You got a 6-pack, you're 6'1", you got a beard, you got a fade, and they'll be like, when you argue with me, you talk to me like trash, like, or you talk to me like a piece of like, I can't take this. Like, I'm like, what? Like, you've got to take something, like, because I have problems too, and stress too, and this and that too. So the same way you can vent when you're due on your period, and I have to accept it because that's something a part of nature and something I can't relate to. If I've had a hard day at work and you're like, babe, rub my feet, and I'm like, no, and you're like, oh my god, you don't even love. We can't go, like, it doesn't work like that.
I know what you mean.
I just think everything's very much like
tipped in the favour. Instead of like
literally
anything that a female like desires from the Disney fairy tale type mentalities. It's what's scary is that not only are they filled with those Disney fairy tales from a young age.
Just to cut you off, sorry.
Go.
They want the Prince Charming, but do they move like the princess?
Exactly. It's like that's, and then on top of that as well, like they almost are filled with these Disney fairy tales for such a long time from a young age, and it grows up and they grow up with it. But the sad thing is they truly can find a guy out there, or multiple men, who don't have enough focus, drive, determination, but maybe they're a bit financially successful. You can have one of those components, but be misused, mistreated, and at the end of it, women 9 times out of 10 don't really even want that.
But it's also a quote that I wrote in my book that I'm writing was, if you don't find yourself within, you'll find yourself without. So you can go into a relationship thinking like you're the bee's knees and this and that. If you don't know who you are and where your moral compass is and what you're going to bring to the table, X, Y, and Z, then eventually you're going to be without. Because that person's going to be like, this is not what I thought I was getting myself into. I know. Like, and it's very rare that the man actually steps away. It's always the woman. It's always the woman that always steps away.
Yeah, that's so true, bro. That's so true. I mean, like, that perfectly, in general, encapsulates that news article and why I think it's poignant to today, but also blends very nicely into the main talking point, which we've touched on a little bit in this last few minutes or so. But modern dating and relationships now, with, as I said, the advent of social media and dating apps and all those things, that like, I wanted you to kind of highlight how you got into that space, speaking with Pearl and Sarah and all of that, and then also just how that kind of relates to people today, because you're coming from, let's say, the quote-unquote high-value male perspective. You're coming from being a professional athlete, coming from that high-value perceived status. So I'm sure there are going to be guys or people out there that won't necessarily have that or come from that background, which would still want to know how things work. And I don't really think that there is a huge difference between a woman that is striving to get, let's say, an athlete, an entertainer, or whatever, the way she may interact with a guy who's considered more on an average level. I think that it's almost like those same rules apply as a blanket, and it's like, if you don't match up, sorry, you're over there. If you do,
but this is what it comes down to, and I don't take offense to it, like knowing your level. Like,
exactly, we have to.
No, like, you can't act oblivious to it, because even if you don't say it to people, when you walk into a club, if you saw Chris Brown there, you're like, girls like Chris Brown. You're gonna get vexed if he's levels, if you go in.
Imagine, do you know what I mean? Chris taking my girl.
Like, oh my god, like you expect it, because you know what level certain people are.
Facts.
And you have to accept that. It's not like people try and do this thing where, I'm speaking positive affirmations about myself. Like, this is where you're taking spirituality down a different realm. If you have an average income, and when it comes to dating you have average results, then you're probably an average person. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not saying you're not going to find someone, but if you're average don't expect to get Beyonce.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
Like I said, in every walk of life, there's a hierarchy. Don't matter if it's in the animal kingdom, if it's in this building, there's people at the top, and then it filters down. Yeah. It's a pyramid.
Winners and losers. It's almost like that, isn't it? It's like people don't want to accept that there are winners and losers. So that, and you know what's scary about that is because they take that statement and they're like, wow, how could you think like that? Because that essentially means the losers don't have a chance and we're just going to favour the winners all the time. But no, it means that we can identify who has successfully done something and who has failed miserably, so that we can accurately say, that's probably not a good way to do it. If you want to try it and you're successful, fair play. Maybe a few people will follow, but overall, this is typically how things are successful.
And I think there's a massive ego problem. Like, ego is essential. People get this like whole thing of like, you have to transcend your ego and stuff like that. Ego is essential, but not everyone's an alpha. I'm not saying I'm an alpha. I might meet a quotation, I don't know. But there's nothing wrong with being a beta or whatever, because it doesn't mean you're lesser than, it means your qualities are different. So an alpha traditionally is, in modern day society, is the one who can beat up the most people. That's just hyper masculinity. That's where you basically have to beat people up to stamp your authority. But I might be smarter than you. You might beat me up, but I know 20 people that are going to come and now beat you up. Or I've got a lot of money, so then you're not going to work again. Do you know what I mean? So like, alpha isn't always physicality. It's about it starts in your mind being an alpha. How, like, if you're an alpha, your kind of aura or your reputation precedes you. When you walk in a room, people will be like, oh, that's the guy. Like, oh, I've seen him do this, or he spoke with this person, or he's really smart, you know, he talks about this, like, people,
social status.
Your social status is almost given to you without you almost knowing. So people treat you like an alpha, and they come up to you and they're like, kind of, it's almost like you're the king in that domain, and they're like, oh, can I ask you a question about this, or oh, I saw this. So not everyone can be that, but everyone has a part to play.
Facts.
Like, it's just the way it is, like, and people don't want to accept that because they feel like, I'm saying I'm not good enough. No, everyone has their roles in society, and everyone could probably get to the stage of alpha. Because for me, like, alpha, it's only a fraction to do with looks. Because if you have the social and economic stature to be in a building with high value women, or quote unquote the most beautiful women in the world, you have a possibility to engage in a conversation with them. Then the looks go to the back because they can hear what's coming out your mouth. Whereas if you're, like I said, just in a normal building, people aren't going to look at you that way. That's why Jay-Z couldn't get Beyonce if he wasn't Jay-Z.
It's true.
Being Jay-Z allowed him to be in her vicinity,
and then for her to then choose to respect him.
And then for his aura and his reputation to precede him, and she was like, oh, Jay-Z.
And she probably had that social status from seeing how other people looked up to him, asking him for advice
because of what he brings to the table.
That's right.
So if you're not bringing content is king. So if you're not bringing content or something to the table as a man or a woman, you're always going to end up lost.
That's just real deep. I mean, that's 1000% true, I think, because I think what happens with men as well, going back to the whole aspect of why this is kind of so meaningful now, is that I've always said that, like, people in our age group between ages about 25 to 35, we're kind of like the bridge generation. I always say this, like, we're the generation that still remembers writing on pen and paper, having tangible things. We didn't have touch screen. We had you know, old box TVs and radios and cassette players and Walkmans, and we come up in a time where tangible things were still very important, like chopping wood with an axe was still current, like do you know what I'm saying, like lumberjacks. And so long story short, and I say all of this to say, we're in that period of time where we saw the transition where people put down the quote unquote physical tools and then started to pick up more of the digital things. So I think what's happened is that we've gone from a masculine way of just doing things in the world. It required brute strength, it required physicality to move and shake and you know, make the world into the world that we see today. Whereas I think now most of the infrastructure is kind of established, and we've got methods to automate.
Yep.
So that opens the door for things like feminism, things like the empowerment of other groups and other just political groups, social groups, all of that stuff. So I think now it's just this case where we're like, the world is now essentially being run more feminine.
Yeah.
It doesn't require you to be there. It doesn't require you to like be actually physically there. Connections don't need to be real. Your work can be done online.
You
can work from
100%.
home. So I think in general, that's what's taken it away. And I think that I realised that the world in general was just taking away those things where you can inhibit and showcase being a man.
Yeah, I'd agree.
So now it's like you've got to go and do it within, like you said, for himself, whether that's working out, whether that's working on yourself, whether that's doing something that still enables you to keep your physical body in good shape.
I think I think it seems that way, and it is that way.
Yeah.
But when all that kind of disappears, the core principles remain the same. So you can get a girl by being cool on social media, that all falls away, you lose your following, or you're not making money from it.
Yeah.
It still comes down to like your core principles and being an actual man, like your ability to provide and protect, etc.
Yeah.
Like some people have that through Instagram, but it can disappear in a matter of time. So then it goes beyond that and it goes back to the old school. So you might have earned 1 million through Instagram, but at the same time you earn it, you can lose it, or you can spend it on things because you never think it's gonna disappear.
True.
A man with good core principles will invest it. Do you know what I mean? So then at the eventuality, because everyone has a run, and it's going to run out eventually. So when in 10 years time, when your Insta pages are popping up, are you still making that same amount of money? That's where the core principles still remain the same for men. Whereas for women, their core principles have moved. The goalpost has moved,
shifted.
Like, I don't want to stay at home and look after my child. Well, who's going to? Did I go nursery?
We'll get a nanny, we'll get a carer.
I want to work full time. Okay, but I don't want you to. I want to treat you like the queen that when we first started dating, that I treated you then. Yeah, but I don't want that anymore. Like, so their goalpost is moving, like, whereas ours is still the same.
Men's roles are static and women's roles are like negotiable. It's almost like they've because of the new advent of time.
You just hit the nail on the head. Like you said, women's basically wants and needs are negotiable. But then their whole thing with wanting equality is negotiable, because you say you want equal pay, you want all the good bits, but then all right, come and do the dirty jobs. Come on, be a plasterer. Come be a brookie.
Come get messy.
Don't just say I want equal pay in office buildings. If you want equal pay, and you're equal to me, because that's what you're saying, like we're not above you in no way, shape or form, maybe physically like they say, which we know is waffle, then go and do the hard labour, go and be a bin man. If you want equality,
security on the doors,
there you go and do that. But we know you can't, like there is biological differences that you can't escape, and there never has been equality in society, ever. It doesn't matter if you talk about men, women, race, this, that, whatever. There's never been equality and there never will be, because there always has to be a hierarchy, otherwise everything goes to tatters. And
then it also leads to, if we did have that, we have basically a valueless society in a sense. It's like if everything is now equal, there's no value.
But then you get some people, like, and I'm very spiritual, that believes that we can live in a utopia where everyone's just singing Kumbaya and cuddling and saying I love you, and no one like kind of, will you pluck the vegetables today? Yes, my friend. Like, it doesn't work like that. Like, there has to be a hierarchy. There's going to be fallouts, but it's being aware enough of yourself to be like, is how I'm treating that person disturbing their peace, and therefore it's going to disturb mine. So do I need to react like that? Do I need to be angry about that? How can I say no in the right manner? So there should be a conscious thought behind every decision. Like, and I think that's where people are going wrong.